Hi, welcome to the Focus Lounge. I'm Jam Brown, and today we're going to continue our second episode, part two. And this is from the pleasure path. The second part is called noticing. I want to talk about noticing because after we talked about the chase and repel energy, I want to tie it in so you understand what to do. So, we talked about briefly how chasing repels because the stance is, I don't have it yet. So, the answer to that is relaxing into the knowledge that everything is working out for me. The universe is benevolent and on my side, and I don't have to micromanage anything. Okay. So, with that basis, I want to talk about noticing because when you're not actively trying to manage and control the outcome of things, you know, as humans, this is what we want to do. We want to control, we want to sort out, we want to like check the box. We did this, right? This is how I know this is going to work. But it's not as comfortable to sit back and have faith that everything is working out for you and that you can just trust in the divine timing of things because we want to sort out a time. We want to know when it's going to get here. Let's just relax. So let's take a deep breath and exhale and just know that we're in a good spot. Okay. So now what do you do when you're not micromanaging and you're not trying to control the outcome of things, right? As you're manifesting something that you want. You notice. Noticing is not passive. It's not sitting back and just letting things happen and like being a bystander. To a certain degree, yes, because it's noticing without actively trying to control a situation, letting things develop so that more information can come, you know? Those are things that are super important to your inner being, your nervous system, all the things that you can just digest and see how they feel as you interpret them from the inside out. When you're always in reactive mode and trying to control something, then you really can't go forward comfortably because you're trying to affect an outcome. All right. If you feel like you're comfortable knowing that the outcome will be what you want and that you can just relax and watch as things develop, then you're not gripping, you're not collapsing the field. And this is why not gripping and not collapsing the field is super important because when you're doing that and you're really trying to get a sense of when, how, blah, 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 it collapses the possibilities into this one thing that you figured out that this is how it's going to be. Whether it's the one house, car, person, job, whatever, this applies across the board. Okay. So when you're just noticing what things happen and whatever, you can get a more 10,000-foot view, if you will, of all the circumstances. You can notice when there are inconsistencies in what you want to see happening. There are things that will show themselves to you that if you had rushed to fix and preempt and so on and so forth, you wouldn't be knowing. So there's two kinds of noticing. Let's break those down. So there's internal noticing and there's external noticing. And let's start with the external noticing because I feel like a lot of people do this already, so it's easy to get into. So, external noticing comprises things like random occurrences that catch your attention or sequenced numbers, the 11:11 on the clock. I know that's such a tired example. Everybody sees it, but whatever. I'm talking about things that you just couldn't have predicted or known. For me, this is one really great example, and it's like it continues to happen. It's the 111 when I glance over at my dash and I see the song counter and the number is going because it counts it, and it isn't exactly 111 or about to turn 111 or 222 or anything, but it happens often enough that I know It's a touchstone from the universe to say, "Hey, we're here with you. Don't worry, keep going. You're doing great." That's how I interpret it. That is my language of confirmation with the universe, as well as other things and such. Like, for example, a few years ago, I had a breakup and, it was rough. I had to grieve it, so on and so forth. And there were times when I could have used some help and the universe would provide. Like a beautiful rosy maple moth appeared shortly after that breakup on my doorstep. Like literally, opened the door, it was on the doorstep. And I don't know if you know what that looks like, but it's a beautiful, furry, pink and yellow kind of looking thing. It was so vibrant that I almost thought it was like some plastic toy or something that had, drifted onto my doorstep at that moment. But when I looked closer, and then of course I had to snap a picture to be sure because I like touched it and it seemed to flutter and I was like, "Oh my God, this thing is alive." I took a picture, I Google searched it, and I decided, what is the meaning, the spiritual meaning of a rosy maple moth? And it told me this is a time of transition. You can relax. This is all going in line with your life path and so on and so forth. There was more, but it was for me. So the message was definitely something that I felt was tracking in my life. And the rareness of that particular moth here in Florida is, also of noting. So this is where I feel like you can't just say, "Oh, that's coincidence." I mean, you can if you want to be dismissive of the universe's benevolence and touchstones with you, but I feel like those are the little things that as you receive more of these external notices for you, let's say that your thing is dragonflies. I have a friend who that's her thing. And when, she needs some sort of reassurance, dragonflies will appear in some sort of way to her to give her that, "Hey, we're here with you" vibe, you know? So I'm saying all this to say is that noticing that there are external forces at work with you doing this co creative dance builds your trust in the universe. And that, yes, you're not failing at manifestation at all. You are being met where you are. So that's what really builds that faith muscle with you, some of these external things. Then I also want to talk about a different type of noticing, the internal noticing. And this is where I feel like it's less popular than the external notices because a lot of people don't want to sit with themselves and just be quiet. And I'm not saying go into a meditative state, although that's great. And it's a wonderful, wonderful tool. I fully support it. But there are times when maybe your meditative state is more of a sitting with yourself and having an internal dialogue. Sometimes I have it externally because I like to hear myself say my thoughts out loud. It kind of like the voice resonates back with my inner being and it kind of ties it all together. So internal noticing of things gives you a feeling of, oh, okay, what else is there that I'm going to find out from this situation? Because when you're not gripping tightly and you're not collapsing the field of possibilities around what you're manifesting, more information comes to you. Life has a bigger scale in which to reach you for the things that you're looking for. So I'm going to give you an example that I think everybody is familiar with out in the world, the online dating world. It's a fascinating wild, wild west sort of place. And it's rife with feelings, feelings of personal validation. And what does this mean? And so on and so forth. What is my profile saying about me? What type of people are meeting me? What does this mean about me? I want to just start with clearing that up and say nothing that happens there is personal to you. It is about understanding that there are things that will match up with you, right, and be like the true thing that is your final manifestation. And then there are other things that will match up with you that will give you more discernment. And discernment only comes from some contrast. So when you have a situation where you're out there in the dating world and whatever, and let's say you've got some momentum going on with someone and you're chatting with them and all seems to be going well and so on. And then you notice that there's maybe a shift in their texting or a shift in the energy that they're putting forth, or they're not mentioning as much as they used to. There's a tendency for us to want to make excuses for another person. I'm not saying don't give them the benefit of the doubt. There's a difference. But when you're like, oh no, he's not getting in touch with me because eh, he's with his family, he's dead tired, he's whatever. Whatever you're making up of an excuse, you need to just back off your own feelings for a moment and allow them to be, even if they're uncomfortable, and let the situation show you what it's going to show you. So, I want to give you an example from my own life. Okay. I was talking to someone, all seemed to be going well. Very good conversationalist, just like really ticking boxes from the get go, responsive, apologetic for lateness, so on and so forth. Again, this is just chat. Okay. And I'm going to tell you the whole thing is a week worth of time. But I notice that when you are talking with people and you get those green flags and you're feeling good about the connection, you tend to start future casting things and starting to think more about what could be and so on. That's not bad. But it's like there's a fence of what could be, and then there's going out and buying the wedding dress, That's crazy. So let things show you. So as time went on, I noticed that even though there was still daily communication, there was a shift in tone, um, and just a shift in responsiveness. And so there came a day where there was an actual plan to be made, and then there was like a full ghosting. Now, another person might have taken this and been like personally offended. Was I disappointed? Yeah, of course. I'm human. I am not ever going to pretend to you that I'm not living this life with you. Okay. Or that because I have this overall knowledge of how life works and spirituality and so on, that I'm immune to that type of feeling, you know? But I hadn't collapsed the field. I hadn't made everything about this one person. So, seeing all the things that had accumulated, I could see that there was like, oh, there was that shift in tone. Oh, maybe this isn't the right match for me. Maybe this is exactly what needed to happen so that I could clock this whole week's worth of activity and note that shifting can happen even when there's momentum, and not to take it personally and not to collapse the field, because that was a better match than what had been coming along previously, because my discernment kept saying, no, not this, because I don't really like how this communication goes. No, not this. This is too forward. No, not this, because whatever. And it's not about being picky. It's about not shrinking yourself to accommodate somebody else, because ultimately you are vibrating at a certain level. Okay, this isn't about worth. Let's take everything like worthy, blah, 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 out the question. You are vibrating at a certain level and you want somebody that's vibrating at the same level to meet you there. So when you realize that somebody isn't meeting you there, instead of shrinking yourself or trying to capture that person or revive interest, you can just sit back and say, oh, okay, if it's not this, then there'll be better match. And it's not about villainizing that person. Some people just don't have the communication skills not to ghost. They don't know how to have a difficult conversation. And that's okay. That is not a reflection on me. That is a reflection on them. And again, not villainizing anyone, not villainizing, not victimizing. So I didn't feel like a victim. I just felt like, okay, that's information to be known. And yes, that was disappointing. And I thought differently about this person, but they're showing me who they are. And when they show you who they are, you don't have to try to rescue something that you were imagining was going to be, because you didn't future cast so much or make this all about this one person and narrow your vision to just be this person important, you know? So I'm saying all this to say, noticing is a very rich, active place to be in your manifesting. So did that disappoint me beyond wanting to date anymore or meet people anymore? Or did it turn into like, oh, you did this wrong, Jam, or blah, blah, blah? No, not at all. Because I have a solid foundation with the universe, knowing who I am and knowing that out there is the right match. And that even people who have loved me or I've loved them or whatever, we may not match anymore because we are constantly growing, evolving people in this universe. So, live and let live. Just flow and everything does come. I will say this, as I noticed, better matches came and more attractive people came into my field. It's the law of attraction. You cannot sidestep it. The more you know, the better it comes back to you. So as you discern and you say things like, oh, yeah, that guy was just a little too busy for me. I'm not going to be able to handle the lack of communication during the week, whatever. Or that guy was just, way too busy with his friends to really have a bandwidth to do this or that. You notice, you talk to yourself. You don't be in a blaming stance on either side. It's just evaluating the circumstances. And I'm going to give you another example of waiting and noticing that doesn't have to do with the dating world, just about this very focused lounge. So altogether, it's been about 6 years since the seed idea of the Focus Lounge came to me. And I felt very much like, this is how it's supposed to be, the initial idea. And I wanted to make it what it initially came to me as, but as I pushed forward, I didn't meet reception. So I know better than to try to push where there isn't um, a, a polarizing pullback. You know what I mean? If I don't feel the energy, then that means, okay, hang back, let this develop. And honestly, there were times when I put the Focus Lounge down altogether for a while just to let it breathe. Let me see what's going to come of it. How does this really need to work to be its best thing? So over the years, there have been a lot of new versions and expansion of Focus Lounge that could not have been unless I grew, ideas came to me, more cooperative components showed up, to where now it makes so much more sense. I'm glad I brought it out this way. And I see a full vision of how all the parts that were brewing in those 6 years now make up what I believe is the ultimate Focus Lounge, a multi-layered thing. It's not just a podcast. It's a universe unto itself. But anyway, more on that in the future. But what I'm saying is breathing room is good. Thinking is good. Allowing things to develop is good. And having faith that you don't have to make something happen right away. The 6 years that have gone by have produced a lot of full-fledged things underneath that Focus Lounge umbrella that are ready and right to the right audience, you know? So I needed to be able to hold that container myself to grow enough to say, oh, yeah, this makes sense. Oh, yes, this is how it comes out. This is how I say this information to the world so that it's of the ultimate value for everyone listening. Because ultimately, I'm not here to grow a viewership or to become a guru or to become an influencer. And I'm not shading anybody who is, okay? This is my lane, and I'm talking about me. I'm here to bring out this information that I feel is super valuable to the world and that would help people just live a more comfortable, easy, trusting life. And then that extrapolates to everyone treating other people better and just, the ripple effect into the world. That's how I see it. Good begets good. So to me, it's important even to record these episodes of the Focus Lounge one at a time. And as I'm inspired to do so, because I feel like the information that comes to me can't be rushed. It needs to be put out as I experience it. Now, this episode I was planning on doing in about 2 days after the first part, the chase and repel part. But honestly, I needed the week to think, to feel, to experience what happened in the dating world so I could bring it to you. Because I feel like a lot of people need to hear some of these things and they're too busy to notice the patterns. I am a pattern identifier. I see patterns ever since I started tracking how law of attraction works in my life from years and years ago to now. So it's really important for me to identify things and be able to say them in a cohesive manner that makes sense to you so that it's really valuable in your life. I'm not saying you're going to walk away from this information and be able to internalize it immediately, but I think that in the quiet of your mind, some of the things that I may say will help you to sort your own feelings and thoughts about how you go about manifesting your best life. And so, with that, I just want to say noticing is an active state. Everything that you are bringing out into the world is because you're creating it and you're noticing and you're riding those waves. You know, in a way, I need to say this because I feel like when people thought manifesting was about receiving from some benefactor, you know, creative force as a benevolent benefactor father figure, that it was kind of easier to just say, well, if I'm good, I'll be rewarded. When it's your job to manage your emotions, to notice, to be actively in dance with a universe that is invisible but quite there, and you have to cultivate that relationship with noticing and external, internal cues and such, it's a little harder because it's on you. So it's about undoing all the previous feelings of worthiness and how that ties into what you're getting in life. No, the better you feel, the better you feel, and the better it gets. This is why staying in the higher vibrational feelings and emotions really helps you to have clarity about stuff. Not everything is for you, and not everything is not for you. Manifesting is not like, oh, I desire this and this and this from the universe, and this is what I'm going to get. There are times when you know what you want, and then as life shows you more, you realize, oh, actually, that's not exactly what I wanted. This is probably not the right match for me, or whatever. And that goes for houses, cars, people, jobs, everything. Everything. So I want you to just take this information and you don't have to do anything with it. Just relax into it, feel it, and, you know, get what you need to get out of it. Because I think it's important for you to realize that everything is from within you. I don't say this lightly. You are the blueprint. And it's because it's true. You are blueprinting everything out that you want in your life as you believe, as you perceive, as you move through the world. So, happy episode 2, or part 2, I should say, of episode 2. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the time. Until next time, I will see you. This is the Focus Lounge, and I'm Jam Brown. Remember, you are the blueprint.